So here's the ba scoop. Right,
And that's flatter.
yep, it's like the bottom of a, ugh, I don't like the way that came up. I just think of a canoe or, I live near a lake and there's all these people with these boats out there, rowboating, right? So even though our horizon line is sloped down, you see it's lower on the left side. And like right underneath the front of it, you could fit a nukta. And here there's just like a little bit, right? Okay, so we're just going to call that the ba, with that dot underneath it. That's a ba, the ba scoop. Although it's used in other letters. And then we're going to I'm going to make it a raw. We're going to do a raw scoop. Although you'll see this scoop honestly more in wow, because wow is a more frequently used letter in the Arabic language. So if you would put the horizon line here, do you see the difference?
Yes.
I mean, it's more than two. It's like, and I mean, this is where I'm suggesting, maybe you want to use triangle shapes, or maybe you want to highlight with, like all the bus scoops get highlighted, the inside of it with a yellow highlighter. All these raw scoops get highlighted with green highlighter. And then you just sort of train yourself to distinguish. You help your eyes and your brain. And then the noon one, so that head is, well, here. Okay, this nib needs a cut, needs a trim. So
Now, the noon one and the raw one looks very similar. Is it just that the noon is that much bigger?
it is that much bigger, and I'm going to point out some other things. So this, see how this is like 2 and a bit? This is only 2, right? So this angle here is lower than this angle here. Ugh. I'm going to point out some other differences. This distance here is like 2, I'm going to say 2.5. And the distance here is 2. Okay, another thing that I now can't point out, but I can. So see that angle? This angle is less. I know these seem really persnickety, and they are. See the differences?
Yes,
Yes.
but that's really helpful.
No, this is really good. You guys see, this is, they say you learn from your students. Like, you guys are teaching me how to teach. And so the whole ba, can you see that? You can, I can't. See the height of that. And then like the height here. I mean, all this stuff can be measured if you want to. Sometimes I don't like to measure too much because I find my own inconsistencies. I mean, but ideally what I would do is, I'm thinking, well, it's wet now, so I can't do it, but later, I might want to come in and just sort of schmutz up the inside of that, right? Because this negative space in here, we want to recognize that as distinct from that. And it really is. And it's very possible. And you will see that. But you're not used to looking at this stuff. This stuff is weird, right? So here, while I'm here, well, I'm going to do it on yours because I'm going to scan it and send it back to you in a bit. But do you see step one of my wow? That is step one. And I have to keep going. So that's step one. So I'm going to repeat that.
Okay.
Right. And then I'm going to do step two, which is adding that onto it. And this extends a little bit past it. So step two. That's a little blobby on the side. And then I'm going to add that raw scoop. Yeah, I'm thinking of other things about the differences, which I'll show you in a minute. See that? The other thing, this I will do in another color. Let's hope it's dry. Is I think about a ball. I've said that. So look at the size of that ball as opposed to the size of this ball. Right? Does that help also?
Yes.
Yeah. And there's a ball here too, but I'm not going to do it on the bow because I feel like that's the bow to me is the most easily distinguished. Now you may not agree, but to me it's long and it's low. And I don't know if it's a kayak or a canoe or a rowboat, but you know what I mean? It's low on the water and the heavier person is in the stern. And even though we're reading it right to left, this literally, to me, this is the bow and that's the stern. Don't ask me why. Don't make no sense. This is not a rational endeavor. This is a thoroughly irrational endeavor, in fact. Doing calligraphy, you have to be crazy to do it. And I mean that, in the highest complimentary way, because look at me. So I'm going to do some more letters. And I am going to whiz through. I am, because we really actually technically only have 20 minutes. Okay. Can you see me? Yeah, you can see me. So here is, I believe we stopped at the cough, right? Or did we do the scene?
No, I think it was a cough.
Okay. So this little tiny stroke is very similar to the first stroke of the bow. It's shorter though. So that's stroke one. This is stroke two, almost round. And this is like a wave on the ocean, but then it comes up and it's sort of heading up to the upper left. I'm not happy with that. I'm going to do that again. And then I'm going to add on to that the Chanak shape. I think I slanted that a little bit too much. So I will now measure in red. And so I want to have a nukta in there. I want to have a nukta and a half in there. And I want to have 5 of these guys. I'm using a slightly smaller nib now because this edge is better. So just to sort of illustrate, it's like stroke 1, stroke 2. These all overlap though, and then stroke 3 has that wave kind of effect, right? And then stroke 4 is slanted a little bit, and then down. And you know, it might behoove you, it might help you to stop there, right? So even though that's not straight, it's straight-ish. And then this is very round. So that is our scene. Our sod, and again, these are all on 80-degree angles. We're thinking in our mind about a triangulating. And then we're going to join the tip of that to the tip of this, and then come up just a little bit. I'm running out of ink. And then onto that, we make that side the right side of the chanak. And see, I'm going to just touch that up. And we head down, sloping, and then we think about going around a big, round boulder or something. So that's 1.5. And do you see how there's, you know, it's kind of triangular. And do you see that overlap there? You know, what I'm doing is I'm bringing this down and letting it come to a point, stroke 1. And then I'm overlapping that point a little bit. Oh yeah, you can see that. And so if we put this little gentle horizon line like right under there, right under the, where that kind of corner is. So there's a triangular thing happen there too. And we have our big weighted ball. Yay. Now, similar but slightly different than the sod is the taw, which comes up, it's like a lower angle up and a lower angle. So like, you know, the triangle of this is less pointy. Do you see that? This is spikier, this is lower. And you see this little hook there, right? And I go over that hook. And again, I'm coming across and slightly down. And when I get this one right, I'm kind of continuing it for a short time and rolling up, right? And when I roll up, you know, it's hinting that this is gonna eventually turn up. And I always end up having to touch that up. Then we want to think about kind of a nukta over having a shorter aleph. It is shorter. It's probably 6 nuktas. Let's see. Remember how we rolled it? And so where this meets, you know, there should be a nukta here and a nukta here. And really there should be like 2 nuktas here. But I just want to keep that simple. This letter has challenged me for many a year. You know, it kind of is like it's a sailboat, right? My aleph is leaning maybe a little bit more than it needs to. but it's not totally out of range. So here's a new letter. Look at this, totally different, unique diamond. Coming down on a 45-degree angle, but looping up a little bit. See that? I'm going to do that again. I'm going to make that slightly less angled. And it comes to a point there. See that? I'm going to overlap there and I'm going to head, I'm going to head down. And I'm going to loop this up tightly. And this, I'm going to do some measuring here. It's a little off, I think.
Eleanor, slide over to the right a little
Oh,
bit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So this is the letter Dal. Yeah, no, I'm all right here. So look at this. This is not a scoop. To me, this is something different, but I do realize that people get this confused with Ra. So maybe I'll put a Ra after it. But this is kind of like a corner here. See this? And what I do want to say about this is that there is a little curve there, and you can fit a little flea here. Ugh, this is not. And the other thing is that the circle here that would fit in here is much smaller, for instance, than that of the Ra, much smaller. And what I like to think about this Dal is like it's a little pointy nose, like a baby's nose, or somehow or other. I have a daughter with a little tiny turned up nose like this. And she's full grown. And oops, I don't like that one. I don't know how it happened, but I do not have a nose like this, but this is like one of those little turned up noses. I mean, you don't want to have it turned up too much. Don't turn up your nose too much, but do you see how, like here's the mustache and here are the eyelashes, it's like the side of the face. Somehow I think you will be able, I have confidence, to distinguish this from the Ra. So, and although there's a curve here, there has to be a little bit of curve. If you find it difficult in the beginning, make it a little straighter, just to distinguish that this is the Dal. See, that's like a 45, like a 90-degree turn, right? But this is a little straight. So the first stroke will have this little bump. See that? And then this second stroke overlaps it, and you want to think about a 90-degree turn, and you want to go past, right, the beginning of this stroke. I went maybe a little too far past. And you want to have 4 of these guys here. Now, as long as this one is in this nukta, second nukta to the bottom, as long as he's over that, that's fine. So that's the letter Dal and Dal. This is the one to look at, though. This is the better one. I hope you guys can all see the nose there. And look at this, our lovely Ein. Do you see how I'm making that little stroke? What is that little stroke? That little stroke is that little stroke.
Oh, excuse me, you're off the.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. So I'm on my 80 degrees and I come up and just watch me for a minute. Now I'm going to extend that over. And sometimes when I have my wits about me, I just go over and come back. Sometimes you know, the ink is wet. I come over and I stop, and then I have this one join it. And just bear with me because oops, you have to see the ein in context. How are we doing? Well, our time is swiftly running out. Am I on?
Yes.
Um, that's a little, that should be a full two. So this guy, let me just draw some stuff here. You know, this sort of doesn't relate. Well, it does relate to some of the other letters, but this is a complex letter. And, you know, this shape, which is slightly imperfect here, repeats in the next letter, which is the G. So we'll have a chance to work on it, but this top is very unique. And you can see it's drawn with the tip of your pen. And I would not accept that at first. And I was like, it has to be made with a stroke of the pen. Well, it is. It's made with a stroke of the tip of the pen, and then it's filled in. What the Turks call this thing is the eyebrow. It's like an eyebrow, right? So let me do another one. So I'm on that 80 degree. I come up. This you're gonna make some mistakes on this letter. And it comes to a point. And then I join there, and I'm not bulging out. There's a curve, but it's down and over, right? And then this second one is sticking out all the way out there in right field. And you know, it often you touch that up, but so here I am, right field, coming down, going around like an egg. And I am going to actually bring my pen to a 90 degree angle. And then I'm going to, in a second stroke, I actually keep it on a 90 degree angle, and I'm doing this, and I'm rolling up onto the tip. And that should be a little straighter. Okay, I like this one, except for the bottom. So, oops, we're going to dip into the red. You know, there's like an attitude toward the ein. Can you see it? It's like leaning back a little bit, and yet not at all, because this letter, well, it is probably leaning back a little too far. It actually this should be straight. Here, this one is better in that sense. This should come right over, shouldn't go any further. The ink to flow. Do you see that? So I'm not going to say it like that. That needs to be back further, but there should be like a whole nukta here from tip to tip. The other thing I'm going to say is, so we learned the sod, you guys all mastered it. So I want you to look at the similarity. See how a sod can kind of fit inside that? Do you see that? This may be too. You may not be ready for this yet. But anyway, so now that we've mastered the ein, watch the initial stroke of the G. Do you see that? And I bring that up a little bit. I start at the same spot. And sorry, there's motorcycles driving by in front of my house. I'm retracing, I'm coming out. And again, I'm going for that same shape as for the ein. Ugh, not good. The bottom part isn't good. The top part is okay. So see how this is just slightly thickened up. That's really what all there is to it. And we want 5 there. And we want this to come lower a little bit. And I'm going to correct my own 1 by just extending that down and out a little bit. And how did I know that was too short? I know it was, well, maybe it wasn't too short. Huh. Maybe it wasn't. Yeah, it was fine. But it should have curled in a little bit more. All right, we're not going to worry about that. The top is the most essential part. 2 memes, ha ya lam aleph. Leaning my pen angle a little bit, right? It's like beyond 90 degrees. It's actually leaning, the top of the pen is further left. Making a little stroke like that. Turning it back to 80. Making this, I don't know what to call that, top of the meme. Making a corner. Dipping it down. Rolling. So this is similar. This meme tail is similar at the end to this raw, right? But you have two guys there. I know we're going way too fast. So once again, there is a triangularity about the top of this, the head of this meme. I'm on, right? Ugh, don't like that. I'm starting to rush. So that's 2 strokes, and this stroke does actually come out a little further than the top. This is a little small, but
Move to the right a little bit. Thank you.
thank you. And this tail is like this tail on the raw. But this head has this triangular thing, and it's definitely 2 strokes. Okay, whizzing, whizzing, whizzing. This is too fast. So the head, stroke 1. See how this is diverging? Like these are not parallel strokes. But I end this with a little hook. I often have these little hooks, and then here's another stroke coming back up into that diamond. And look, here's another stroke curling around, kind of. And what you need to do is look at that weird, unique shape inside of this ha. So this is a little ha. It's pronounced like the H in English. So I think what's important is there's different angles here, but also look inside of that and make each curved but angled stroke separately. do it in parts. So I'm going to give you the ya. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to do the lam aleph right now. We're going to hold off. Technically, it's 2 letters. It's a connection. But we'll do the little ha. Okay, that's too big. So look what we got here for the independent ya. Here we have a chanak. And what I will say about the independent ya is that it's not used a lot in the Arabic language. It's just not, somehow or other. It's used. I mean, you definitely have to do it. But, so what is that top stroke? It's like a going up and over. And then this is sort of like an S, right? And then you have this middle stroke, which has a hint of going down and really should be 2 nuktas across. So actually I'm okay. And you leave yourself a little hook, and onto that, you add the chanak. And look, I'm doing it in 2 strokes. And I'm not really worried about jiggling or anything. If I'm a little wobbly, like what I want from you guys, wobble or shake is fine. Getting the form, proportionately done is what's important. You get the shakes every now and then. You drink too much coffee, you don't get enough sleep, whatever, you're crazy, you have cerebral palsy. I had a student who has cerebral palsy, and he did great letter forms. They all were shaky. And he went back to painting, and he's an amazing painter. Somehow the brush suited him more. But I got to tell you, this guy's a very gifted artist, and nothing wrong with getting the shakes every now and then. So, once again, this was, maybe they call it Zoom because we're going too fast. Like, this is too much. This is too much. So I'll take it, or I'll scan this now that this is just something that I did last night and promptly smudged. But, to take your hand off the intensity. See, here's one of the beauties of having smooth paper. See this? It's not going to be perfect, but I could work on it with an eraser and really completely get rid of that. So we're going to send you a guideline for, I think I did one that's 4 and one that's 6, a circle. And you can pick a letter, like in this case, right? Same letter. And really, it's like I made one, I turned my paper, started exactly in the same point, right? And so you can just take a letter or take 2 letters. You could even take 3 letters, but you can repeat them kind of coming out of a circle like a flower. And it's just a very simple little exercise that can actually be fun. And you don't have to measure them if you don't want to. And if you do want to, you can. Like, it's entirely up to you.